You think you are lazy, but you are not. You are actually a hostage of your own brain chemistry. Procrastination is not a time management problem, it is an emotional regulation problem. When you stare at that unfinished report or that pile of laundry, you are not choosing to be unproductive. You are experiencing a psychological defense mechanism designed to protect you from the discomfort of the task ahead. Let's look at the science. In 2007, psychologist Piers Steel at the University of Calgary conducted a massive meta-analysis of over 200 studies on procrastination. He found that procrastinators are not necessarily bad at planning, they are fundamentally impulsive. They struggle with immediate gratification. This is known as temporal discounting. Our brains value the pleasure of a 5-minute scroll on social media far more than the abstract benefit of completing a project that is due 3 days from now. The future self feels like a stranger. The brain treats a future deadline as a threat, but it treats a TikTok video as a survival reward. This is the amygdala at work. The amygdala is the ancient part of your brain responsible for the fight or flight response. When you face a task that triggers anxiety, fear of failure, or a sense of inadequacy, your amygdala interprets that task as a physical threat. It wants to keep you safe. How does it do that? By steering you toward activities that trigger dopamine, the brain's pleasure chemical. It pushes you to clean your desk, check your email, or grab a snack. These are avoidance behaviors. You are not procrastinating, you are self-soothing. Consider the present bias. Neuroimaging studies show that when people think about their future selves, the prefrontal cortex, the logical planning part of the brain, is significantly less active. We literally view our future self as if they were someone else entirely. If I asked you to do a favor for a stranger, you might do it. But if I asked you to do a favor for your future self, your brain treats that task as an inconvenience to be pushed onto someone else. We are essentially offloading our stress onto a version of us that doesn't exist yet. Then there is the concept of the Zygarnik effect, named after Russian psychologist Bluma Zygarnik. In the 1920s, she observed that waitstaff remembered unpaid orders with ease, but forgot them completely once the bill was paid. We have an innate need for cognitive closure. Procrastination creates an open loop. That unfinished task stays in your working memory, consuming mental energy like a background app on a smartphone, draining your battery. This is why you feel tired even when you haven't done any actual work. The guilt of procrastination is more exhausting than the work itself. Why do we do this to ourselves? Perfectionism is the silent engine of the procrastinator. If you never start, you can never fail. If you finish a task, that result is a judgment on your competence. If you procrastinate and finish at the last minute, you can blame the lack of time rather than your own abilities. It is a protective shell for the ego. Stanford professor John Perry called this structured procrastination. You do everything else on your to-do list except the one thing that actually matters, just to keep the feeling of being productive alive. But there is a darker psychological layer. Research published in the journal Personality and Individual Differences suggests a link between procrastination and low self-compassion. When you procrastinate, you feel bad. When you feel bad, you engage in more avoidance to escape that negative emotion. It is a feedback loop. You miss a deadline, you berate yourself, the self-criticism lowers your mood, and the lowered mood makes you less likely to tackle the next challenge. You are essentially bullying yourself into a state of paralysis. Think back to the last time you promised yourself you would start a project at 9 a.m. sharp. You sat down, looked at the screen, and then felt a sudden, irresistible urge to clean your keyboard or research a trivial topic. This is the dopamine detox your brain is begging for. You are overstimulated by constant connectivity. In 1974, researchers noted that our tolerance for boredom had already begun to shift. Today, with the advent of infinite scroll algorithms designed by the brightest minds in behavioral psychology, your brain has been rewired to require constant, high-speed stimulus. The task you are avoiding is boring, slow, and linear. The internet is fast, visual, and unpredictable. You are fighting a multi-billion-dollar machine designed to hijack your focus. When you try to work, you are fighting against the entire architecture of modern technology. Is there a way out? Not if you keep relying on willpower. Willpower is a finite resource. In the 1990s, psychologist Roy Baumeister coined the term ego depletion. He argued that willpower is like a muscle that gets tired with use. If you spend your morning making difficult decisions, resisting sugar, and managing your inbox, you have nothing left for your main project by the afternoon. You cannot will yourself out of procrastination. You have to change the environment and the emotional trigger. The secret is not discipline, it is temptation bundling. This is a strategy where you pair an action you want to do with an action you need to do. If you only listen to your favorite podcast while doing the tedious data entry, you are hacking your reward system. You are tricking the amygdala into associating the work with the dopamine hit. Another strategy is the 5-minute rule. Tell yourself you will only do the task for 5 minutes, just 5. The hardest part of any task is the activation energy. Once you break the seal of inertia, the brain's desire for completion kicks in. This is the flip side of the Zeigarnik effect. Once the loop is open, your brain actually wants to close it. You just need to trick yourself into opening it. But you must also address the shame. Studies by Dr. Timothy Pikeel at Carleton University show that self-forgiveness is a powerful tool for productivity. Students who forgave themselves for procrastinating on their first exam studied longer for the next one. It sounds counterintuitive. We think we need to be hard on ourselves to perform, but guilt creates more stress, and stress triggers more procrastination. By forgiving yourself, you reduce the amygdala's threat response. You lower the stakes. You make the task less scary. We must also stop identifying as a procrastinator. Labels are sticky. When you say, "I am a procrastinator," you give yourself permission to act in accordance with that identity. You are not a procrastinator. You are a person who has fallen into a pattern of avoidance due to a specific psychological response to stress. It is a habit, not a character trait. Habits can be unlearned. Consider the procrastination doom loop. You have a task, you fear the discomfort, you avoid it with a distraction, you feel temporary relief, but that relief is followed by guilt. The guilt increases the discomfort of the original task, making you avoid it even more. To break this, you have to find a way to make the task safe. Break it down until it is so small it is laughably easy. Don't write the essay. Just write the first sentence. Don't organize the garage. Just move one box. We live in an era where we are judged by our output. We are pressured to be optimized, efficient, and constantly visible. This pressure creates a massive amount of anxiety. We procrastinate because we are trying to preserve our internal world against the demands of the external one. It is a rebellion, however self-destructive. When you look at your life, realize that your time is not just a resource to be managed, it is your life. Every hour you spend procrastinating is an hour you are effectively deleting from your experience. You are trading your agency for a few minutes of hollow comfort. If you are currently putting something off, realize that the pain you are trying to avoid is currently growing larger in your mind than it is in reality. The monster under the bed is only scary because you refuse to turn on the light. The task you are avoiding is just a sequence of small, manageable actions. It has no power over you unless you give it that power. You are capable of focus. You are capable of creation. You have just been conditioned to fear the transition from the comfort of the couch to the effort of the desk. The next time you find yourself scrolling, stop, breathe, acknowledge the anxiety, understand that your brain is just trying to protect you, and then take one tiny, microscopic step toward the work. The wall between you and your goals is not made of stone. It is made of feelings, and feelings change. The only thing standing between you and the person you want to be is the decision to start, even when it feels like the hardest thing in the world. If you could see the version of yourself 5 years from now, would you want them to have finished the work, or would you want them to still be waiting for the perfect moment that never comes? The moment is not going to get better. The fear is not going to go away on its own. You have to move into the discomfort to get to the other side. Stop waiting for the mood to strike. You are waiting for a feeling that is never coming. Action creates the motivation, not the other way around. Every time you push through that initial wall of resistance, you are rewiring your brain. You are telling your amygdala that it is safe to act. You are building a new identity. Ask yourself this: what would you achieve if you treated your time as the most valuable asset you own? Not because you have to, but because you deserve to see what you are truly capable of. The dark psychology of procrastination is a trap designed by your own instincts to keep you small and safe. But you are not made for safety. You are made for progress. Turn off the distraction, close the loop. The relief you feel after finishing is a far greater drug than the temporary escape of scrolling. Choose the relief of completion over the trap of avoidance. The work is waiting, and you are ready.